Well, good evening. Welcome to Grover Hill Zion United Methodist Church. Thursday evening devotions from the kitchen table. This evening, I want to talk to you about keeping the faith for the next 9 or 10 minutes or so. I've been thinking lately and looking at the news headlines and all that's taken place, and thinking about all the things that have taken place these last couple years with COVID-19 and everything else that's taken place. If you look at the news very long, you just get paranoid at looking at that stuff, and it'll make you sick, because then you'll start to worry and you'll be afraid and wondering what's going to happen and take place and what's going to become of everything. Well, we don't know, do we? All I do know is that I hope all is well with you and yours right now, and I hope you keep the faith as well. You know, Lord knows there's many problems facing our own individual lives, as well as the lives of our nation and the lives of the world as well. It's, in fact, the world these last several years, it's always been a dangerous place, but these last several years it just seems like it's even more dangerous, doesn't it? And it seems like it's not going to stop. It just keeps getting more and more dangerous. Right here in our own nation even, you have people that are leaders, elected leaders, supposed to be representing the people that want to, it seems like, destroy our nation from within. Why they have those jobs that they have, I will never know. Because we, the people that vote him in, are blind, I guess. But anyway, I don't want to get into politics. I think about the world being dangerous, and it kind of seems like we're approaching the end times, doesn't it? It just seems like everything kind of points that way. And one thing's for sure, we're closer now to the end times and Jesus' return than we've ever been before in history. I think of COVID-19, and of course it's killed millions upon millions of people around the world. And it's sad that when that first began to spread, that it was doomsday. Doomsday, that was the end. But listen, we're still here. It killed at least 5 million people the last I heard. That's a lot of people, but in relationship to the population of the world, it's just a very small percentage. And I don't take that as meaning that I'm not saying 5 million people is not a lot of people, because it is. But just in the last 6 months, just this year alone, Russia has invaded the Ukraine, and between both sides, tens of thousands of people have been killed through hostile action, violent action on both sides. And that war, if you can believe our leaders, they say, can eventually drag us in. They say it's causing a food shortage as well as some other shortages. So that's a dangerous time, and we could just end up and get drawn into that. And now just this week, was it yesterday or the day before, the Speaker of the House of the United States of America visited Taiwan, who is an ally of the United States. And China, communist China, now is threatening some repercussions from that, some hostile actions. And just today I heard where they had initiated a live fire exercise, sending live missiles around the island of Taiwan, as well as sending some of those live missiles across the airspace of Taiwan. Well, and we're just liable to end up being drawn in to that war too. You never know where some of these madmen are leading us. Sometimes we don't know, and we wonder, who do we turn to in all of this? What do we do? Many people are scared and they don't know what to do in all of these things. But in all these events. But the Holy Scriptures give us an idea of what to do and what people before us have done. And let me just share a few of those with you. First of all, there was Abram. Abram, who won God's favor. And Abraham, God said to Abraham, listen, I'll make you the father of many nations, and you will be blessed. And he tells Abraham to pack up all your belongings and leave this land and go to the land I will take you to, and I will turn you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing to many, many people. And I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. And all the people will be blessed because of you. You know, think about that. Abraham, if he was our age today, you know, he'd be ready for retirement, wouldn't he? But Abraham was 75 years old when the Lord said to him, pack up everything you have and take off and go to this country down here. And I'll bless you to be a blessing to many, many people. But Abraham had faith in the Lord, not knowing where he was going and what he was going to do. He had faith in God, and he just trusted God to lead him wherever he would, and things turned out all right. Even though he had great difficulty, he faced a lot of hardships. And then there was Paul writing to Timothy. Timothy is a young pastor. He was having a difficult time, not only in the church, but outside of the church. And Paul writes to him in 2 Timothy chapter 3, saying, listen, mark this down, remember this. There will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful and proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying its power. Then Paul says, listen, have nothing to do with people like that. Don't have anything to do with people like that, because they'll drag you down. They'll drag you down. They'll pull you away from God. Keep the faith instead, even in the tough, difficult times. And Jesus tells us that in Matthew chapter 24, beginning with verse 6, Jesus said, listen, in the last days, things are going to be uncertain. You're going to have some uncertain times. You're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it you're not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All of these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and even put to death. And you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray, and they'll hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. The one who keeps the faith to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come. Get the idea that no matter what you go through, to keep the faith in God. Keep the faith in God. All these people didn't know where they were going, what was going to happen, when it was going to happen. They just kept the faith and trusted God. Put their trust into God. And finally, let me just share with you Hebrews chapter 11, beginning with verse 11 down through 16. By faith. Remember I said Abraham was 75 years old when God told him to pack up and go to a different country. By faith, even though he was past the age of childbearing, and Sarah herself was barren, was able to become the father, or be able to become a father, because he considered him faithful who made the promise. God had promised, and Abraham believed him. And so, from this one man, Abraham, and Abram as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, as countless as the sand on the seashore. All these people, and there were others listed here, all of these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance. And they admitted that they were aliens and strangers on earth. These people believed God, they trusted God, and yet they did not see the promises of God, only at a distance, only at a distance. Then in verse 14 he continues, people who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country that they had left, they would have had an opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, because they kept the faith, therefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. Think of that. God is faithful and true, and all of our ancestors believed and trusted in God, and they kept the faith. So God is faithful and true. Psalm 33, verse 4, and other places as well. Listen, in closing, this world is not our home, just as our ancestors understood. This world is not our home. We're just passing through it. So even in the midst of hardships, keep the faith. Keep the faith. Put your trust in God. Amen. Have a great and blessed week.